Hi, I'm C.C. Péan, and this is Reclaiming Your Health. Hey y'all, welcome to Reclaiming Your Health. I'm C.C. Péan. Thank you so much for joining me. You on the East Coast, it's 10 o'clock, it's late. So thank you for being here. And those on the West Coast, thank you for joining as well. This evening, we are going to be doing a dish that is near and dear to my heart. It is coconut curry vegetables. And if you have been following along, you received the recipe earlier last week, or maybe you got it today. And one of the interesting things about this curry is that we're not just using straight up curry powder. Now, mind you, you could do that, but I have shared with some of you that I am West Indian and West African. And my mother is from Guyana, South America. And there is a very large Indian population in Guyana. And so we don't play around with curry. My husband jokes that I probably grew up drinking curry out of a bottle. I love curry, and I love really like spicy, like hearty, rich curry. I don't like watery curry. So that's what this curry is tonight. Anybody who has had curry knows there's yellow curry, there's red curry, there's green curry. This is West Indian style curry. So in addition to using a curry powder, we're going to layer the flavor of garam masala, amchar, which is a young mango powder, cumin, we call it jeera, and also coriander. So all of those things are going to go into our curry, that it's going to give this super fragrant deliciousness, and it's going to be all whipped up with coconut milk. I love coconut milk. I would bathe in it if I could. Coconut milk is something that it just adds such lusciousness, and it's good fat. So now if you have cholesterol issues, you need to be careful. And what I would do is I would substitute out full fat to low fat, but it's just as delicious. So we're going to get going because this is actually a dish that takes a little bit of time to prepare. So for the ingredients, we have a can of chickpeas, we have pumpkin or sweet potato or even carrot, we have broccoli. I'm also going to add in some cauliflower. And I think that's it. Those are the veggies that are going to go in. But I want to talk to you a little bit about this squash right here, which is kabocha squash, which is my favorite squash to cook because it has a really kind of like sweet, nutty quality to it. And so it's a really unique taste to add into your curry. It has a very hard skin, So I'm going to show you how I cut it just real quick, and then we're going to get into preparing the curry. So if you could just go switch to overhead. What I typically do is I cut it in half, which that's going to take some strength too. And then I'll cut off either end. Scoop out the seeds. We've got a lot of seeds in there. So I just scoop it out with a spoon, like so. It comes out very, very easily. And then to manage it, I just cut it into slices instead of trying to do it on the whole. And what I'll do, the side that sits up, I'll just gently go around the edge like that. And that way I get the skin off. Now, some people use this squash, and if you buy it organic, you don't have to get rid of the skin. You can actually cook the skin. I'm not too keen on that, so I get rid of the skin. But I just wanted you to see how it is easy to manage this. So I go like that, I cut it in half, and then I'll cut it in like bite-sized pieces. Okay, so that's how you work with kabocha squash. Alrighty, so let's get started on this curry. So we talked about all the different ingredients to go into the curry. I have a little bowl here. Let me show you how we do it. So I typically do 2 to 1. I'll put in 2 tablespoons of curry powder. Remember I told you I like a rich curry. Now I may not use all of this. I'm going to use a little amchar. Amchar is a young mango powder. And what I love about this is it adds kind of a tartness and brightness to the curry. So you've got that heat, so it's going to add a little bit of brightness. Some garam masala that adds a little more depth. So remember we did 2 of the curry, so we're doing about 3/4 of a teaspoon of everything else. We've got our cumin or jeera, and we've got coriander. Okay, so after we've added all those things, I'm just going to add a little bit of water to it. What we're going to do is make this into a paste because we're going to fry this curry. You have to cook curry. You can't use it. You can't use it kind of like, I guess the only word to use is raw. It has to be cooked. So I've added now some water to this and I've made a paste. I'm going to add a little more. See that? Okay. So there we go. So I'm going to put this on hold. I'm going to go over to my stove and get started with my aromatics, which are my onion and my garlic and things like that. So I'm going to put about 2 tablespoons of oil in the pan. Let that warm up. One of the things that you have to remember when you make curry with vegetables and things that are different textures, you're going to cook the heartier vegetables first. So you're going to see that when I get this all going, the first thing I'm going to put in this pan is going to be the kabocha squash. All right, so I've got my onions here. I'm going to add those to the pan. I've got some scallions that I'm going to add to the pan. I've got some beautiful fresh thyme I picked up the other day. I'm leaving it on the stem so I can take it out. And I've got 3 cubes of garlic here, cloves of garlic, that I'm going to use my little handy garlic press. I love this because it just gets the garlic exactly how I want it. Turn this down a little bit. What I also love about this dish is it's simple and you can prepare it very, very quickly. It's kind of like one of those set it and forget it type things. So these are already cooking and smelling wonderful. I'm going to add my garlic. It's like perfectly minced. Okay. Now, right in the center of this, I'm going to put some of that curry-like paste I've made. Okay, so that's probably a good 3 tablespoons. Now, as you become familiar with this recipe, you may want a little more heat. You may want a little less heat. You may want a little more tanginess. You may want a little less tanginess. And you'll get to know the ingredients if you add a little oil to this. And you'll be able to play it around till you get the exact combination that you want. So you see the curry is cooking. Let the heat touch this for a good, maybe minute and a half, and you'll notice it's going to start to thicken up. See it thickening up? Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do, now I'm going to take my squash, put it in there. I'm going to try to coat it. Now, I don't know if you all are asking me any questions because I'm not really paying attention to the screen right now, but once I get back in front of it, I will answer any that you have. Okay, so that's cooking. It smells so great in here. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to add some cauliflower. Piece is a little big. We're going to stir that around. Okay. And now I'm going to add my magic ingredient, which is my coconut milk. We're going to add a full can of the coconut milk right to the pot. Okay. We're going to stir this around a little more. And I'm going to cover this just for a minute. Now, because this is a hot dish, at any point, if you wanted to add more of the curry paste, you could, because it's definitely going to still cook. So I'm going to cover this and let it cook for a few minutes, and we're going to come back over here and talk a little bit so we can come back to the front. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about this evening was, you know, a lot of times we talk about eating healthier. And there are some of us who have grown up in a tradition of eating vegetarian food. And we use a lot of meat substitutes. And I personally think that meat substitutes are great, but they shouldn't be something that we depend on. I believe that meat substitutes were something that were given to us as a transitional product to eat along the way to healthier eating. And so true plant-based eating is not eating a lot of processed foods. It's not eating a lot of preservatives, nor is it eating a lot of sugar. And one of the things that often happens when individuals change their diet, say, for example, they go from eating meat to being vegetarian, everything they eat is cheese. So it's not as bad as eating a steak or chicken or fish or something like that, but you're eating still a lot of cheese, and you're eating a lot of cholesterol, and you're eating a lot of fat. So what I try to encourage people to do is to eat more plants. The closer your food is to its natural state, the better it is for you. Your body takes what it needs from that food and it gets rid of the rest. When you eat food that is preservative packed and processed, it's a different thing to your body. So that's something that we want to try to avoid. So I'm not saying that you can't eat it, but just limit it. Okay, so this is coming along the back of the stove. Now, I'm having to speed things up tonight because we only have 30 minutes. So typically, this would be more of like a slow, kind of like slow simmer cook. But like I said, we don't have that time tonight, so we are going to be cooking with grease. So now I'm going to add my chickpeas. This is a can of chickpeas that have been drained and rinsed, low sodium chickpeas. They're going in here. And if you've noticed, we haven't added any salt. Remember, I don't like to add salt as an ingredient. I like to use it as an accent. It makes all the flavors come together. It is not your base flavor. All right, so we're going to cover this back up. And I wanted to share with you all that next week, what we're going to be making, so many of you saw the lion's mane mushrooms that I made. And so I've been working on perfecting that recipe, but what I did perfect was an oyster mushroom recipe. And so what we're going to do next week is I'm going to do our version of that Popeye's chicken sandwich, but with mushrooms. So stay tuned for that. I know a lot of people are excited about that. It's so funny. Everybody reacted when they saw that super crispy fried picture. And People love fried stuff. So we're going to do that next week. Does anybody have any questions? Are people tuned in tonight? I'm not seeing my regular Shauna. I'm not seeing her. I'm not seeing few people. Joy. I don't know if people couldn't make it tonight. Do we have new viewers? What's going on? Let me know. So what else can we talk about? Okay. All right. So let's go back over to the stove since nobody has any questions for me tonight. As this continues to cook, it is really coming together. And see, the thing is, sometimes depending on how many vegetables you use, sometimes you will have to add a little bit of water. But this one can is really perfect. Now, depending on how you want your vegetables cooked, some people like their vegetables a little al dente. Some people like them softer. So that will also determine how long you cook this and how much liquid you put in it. If you want it to be softer, of course, then you're going to add more liquid because over time, the liquid will dissipate and you will need that. So I'm going to stop lifting this up because part of what's happening here is we're creating steam. So I don't need to keep lifting that up because it's going to let the steam out. So this is I think this is my third or my fourth Reclaiming Your Health. I'm excited about it. We are living in precarious times. Health is a major issue. COVID-19 has really caused, it's my fourth one. COVID-19 has really caused serious heartache within the community, of the African-American community in particular, the Black community. And one of the things that we're noticing is not only health inequity, but that a lot of what is making this situation more difficult for us as a people is we have pre-existing issues that have made it harder to fight COVID-19. So I'm personally committed to introducing you all to healthier ways of eating so that we can at least have control of that situation. So that's not something that is creating a more difficult situation for us as we deal with health issues. So Sherry asked, how long do you cook them? Really, this entire dish shouldn't take more than like 30 minutes to cook, but it depends on how you want your veggies. So if we go back over to the stove, this is cooking up lovely. I cannot tell, this house smells amazing. One of the great things about my house is that it's open. One of the bad things about this house is that it's open, so my entire house is going to be smelling like curry. Hey, Melissa, I'm so happy you're cooking along. I'm so happy you're cooking along. So now we can see the squash. I'm just about able to push through the squash. So it's coming along. And remember, I have this at a pretty high heat because I'm trying to get this done before 30 minutes are up. But typically you would probably be cooking this on medium-high heat. You would add a little bit more liquid and that's how you would do it. So I haven't forgotten my broccoli. Broccoli is one of the last things I'm going to add. I don't like it to be mushy. So probably the last 5 minutes, I'll put it in there. So really the steam is going to soften it and cook it. And then I'll toss it a little bit and then we'll be ready to go. So as I was saying earlier, the way I prepare curry is different. Interestingly enough, I don't know if many are aware that curry is not a word that is used, that was traditionally used in India. It's when the British went to India that they were thinking of a word that could represent the foods, this particular dish. And so they created that, and later it was adopted. But hey, Shauna, girl, you're like my number one person. I was feeling lost. I was feeling abandoned. So I'm glad to see you. So that's an interesting thing to know, that curry is not something that was readily known in India. It was actually a British interpretation, a British definition that was given to their dish. But it has traveled throughout the diaspora, and everybody uses curry in one form or fashion. Even in Ghana, when they're fixing jollof rice, curry is one of the ingredients that goes in that rich stew. It's not a pronounced flavor, but it is incorporated as well. So it speaks to how Indian culture has made its mark on the continent as well. So, oh yeah. Can you just see? I don't know if you all can see how creamy and lush this is. So now I'm going to, and my cauliflower is cooking beautifully. So now I'm going to take my broccoli and I'm just going to place it. I'm just going to place it on top. I'm not going to bunch it up. I'm going to place it on top. And something I mentioned earlier as well, when you're cooking, we cut things up a certain way, not only because of appearance, but so that it will cook evenly. If you have a big chunk of something somewhere, and then you don't have a big chunk of something elsewhere, it's gonna cook unevenly. So we wanna avoid that. All right, so I'm just gonna cover this up. And we are almost ready. I'm gonna give that just a few more minutes, and then we are going to plate it. I have some beautiful jasmine rice that was prepared. If my trusty assistant would be so kind to get my microgreens, I would appreciate it. And we have not forgotten about our salt, but what I'm gonna do is that's gonna be one of the last things I do before I serve it. I have shared with you all. Thank you. Well, you know what? People of color, we don't need, I have gone places and I have seen people put salt on salad. I have seen people put salt on things before they've even tasted it. We can retrain our palate. And in retraining our palate, we can take off our dependence on salt and sugar. So I'm encouraging you all to try to do that. Create layers of flavor with your aromatics, which are your onions and your garlic, with herbs like thyme and rosemary and sage, all of those things, cilantro, culantro, and let salt be the last thing that you use. It just heightens the flavor. It just kind of, it takes it up a notch, but it's not the base of it. So if you go back over to the stove, you will see how bright and beautiful and green this broccoli is. It is just ever so slightly steamed through. Okay, and that's what we want. We still want a little bit of crunch. Now, I like a little bit of crunch. Maybe you don't want a little bit of crunch, but I like a little bit of crunch. I like that fiber. It's great for your digestive system. It's it's great for us. So I like a little bit of crunch. But again, if you don't like crunchy vegetables, you just let it cook a little longer. That's all. Okay, so now I am going to let's take a little taste here and see how my flavor is. This is hot. It's very good. Now, the nuttiness from the kabocha squash, you can taste that. We've got the onions and we've got the garlic. I'm just gonna do a little sprinkle of salt over this. This is probably a half, maybe a half tablespoon worth of salt. Now you can add more, but I'm encouraging you to try to do things a little differently. Next week, we're gonna have our decadent meal, but this week, we are focusing again on health. Okay, so let me grab another spoon so I can taste this and see how my salt did. Delicious. So now we're going to come up here to the front. I want you to see how beautiful. Can you see how beautiful that dish is? We've got cauliflower, broccoli, carrots, kabocha squash, chickpeas. We have got protein, we got vegetable protein, we've got flavor, and we have also taken a trip to the African diaspora because we're representing Guyana and Trinidad and Jamaica and the islands here. And we've got it over some beautiful jasmine rice. Now, you know, some people might want a little bit more sauce. So there we go. It's a heaping helping. And what am I going to do? What do I always talk about? I always talk about our greens, our microgreens that help to get the metals out of our body that we are exposed to on the daily. So we're just going to add a little bit of that on top. You can do chopped scallions on this if you want to. I'm a cilantro freak, so cilantro. And it is, can you see this? Can you see how beautiful this dish is? Can you see it? Can you see it? Yummy, yummy, yummy. And so my niece is going to join me and she's going to try this dish with me. Now, something that's funny, when I eat curry, I eat with a spoon. It's something that I saw my mother doing. And there's something about eating curry. This is Braxton.
Hi.
So we're going to taste this curry. It's going to be hot. Just blow on it a little bit. Yummy. It's yummy. You've got the heat. You've got the tartness from the amchar, which is the young mango powder. You've got the nuttiness, again, from the kabocha squash. You've got your cauliflower in there. You've got all these fibrous vegetables that are just good for you. They're good for your digestive system. They're good for cleaning you out. And we've got it all on top of a bed of jasmine rice. You can also do this on quinoa. You can do it on farro. You can eat this with a piece of naan if you want to. You could put it over, a lot of things. You can make a Buddha bowl from it. The cilantro adds nice flavor. This is a delicious dish. I'm sure your family will love it. It is easy to make. You can see we made it in under 30 minutes. You can use whatever vegetables you have in your refrigerator, truly. Thank you. Just get creative. Get creative. Curry and coconut milk will bring anything together. So try it. Thank you all so much. It did, Sherry. I can't wait to have you over so you can try it. It's super easy. That's what I want to try to share with you all, are recipes that you can make very easily, because I want this transition or this incorporation to be easy for you to do. So thank you so much for joining me. Next week, we are making a vegan mushroom-based version of the Popeyes chicken sandwich. Y'all are not ready for this. You're not ready. It's going to be good. So thank you for joining us, and we will see you next week. Bye-bye. I'm going to eat some more of this curry. Yummy.